Broadcasting live from the convention center on the plain of Minneapolis, this is Tap Tap Concede. Welcome, everybody, to Tap Tap Concede. My name is Graham. Joining me is Kathleen.
Hello.
Nelson.
Hi, I'm here.
And Beej.
I also went to the show.
Today, we are going to be talking about MagicCon Minneapolis, which was my second MagicCon of this, second
Season?
MagicCon. Magic convention of this new standard of Magic conventions, but it was the first time for Kathleen and for Nelson and for Beej, who doesn't play Magic. We'll talk about more of that in a moment. First of all, a reminder, of course, that Tap Tap Concede is brought to you by our friends at Card Kingdom. Please check out cardkingdom.com/LRR for all your cardboard needs. We love them. We think they're great. They do excellent customer service and very fast shipping. Order yourself some stuff. Let them know loading ready, run, send me button, please, and they'll give you a little 1-inch button. And right now, I think they're still on a Kingdom of Cards because the next shipment hasn't gone through production yet, but we'll get new buttons out there soon. Also, this show and everything we do is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Thank you very much. So we are all, and yes, as indicated by the fact that there is a cat screaming for attention, we're all from home because of the we have our office policy of giving it a couple days after a convention before we go back into the office. Not just for COVID, but also just for anything we could have picked up from a convention away.
Do you remember in the old days where you'd say, "Oh, I picked up con crud"?
Yeah. And then you just go into the office and then
give everyone else your con crud.
Yeah, we've since realized that's maybe not.
We don't have to live that way.
In hindsight, maybe we could just rename it Concrud 19. I kind of like that. Once we feel comfortable enough that it's far enough in the past, we think of it as Concrud 19.
Yeah.
I mean, we masked up at the con and stuff like that as well. Basically all of us did. But at the same time, you know what? Gotta go eat. Gotta go to a restaurant,
Gotta take a selfie with somebody who's come to the booth.
Yep. I mean, it's fine.
Gotta pull your mask down if they ask politely, because you can't help it.
I'd pull my mask down and just hold my breath because I'm just holding my rictus grin of con selfie face anyhow, which is because I don't want to blink because I want to keep things moving as quickly as possible. But if somebody wants a photo, I want to let them take a photo and I want it to be good.
Yes.
And it's very easy to hold my breath for 10 seconds while I'm doing that and then mask goes back up. But still.
I'm just weak to when people use good manners.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It was a whole weekend of personal risk assessment.
Yeah,
or more than a weekend. So we went down in staggered shifts this time. Nellie and Wheeler and Ben and Beej arrived very late on Thursday night. James
technically very early on Friday morning.
Yes.
James went down a day ahead of time to start practice and stuff for Game Nights Live. And Kathleen and I, same thing, went down on the Tuesday to do Game Nights Live prep on Wednesday and Thursday. And I thought this was very amusing to me. Josh tweeted a big crew picture of everyone involved in Game Nights Live and was like, great day of rehearsal today for Game Nights. And a couple people on Twitter were like, I knew those games were scripted. And it's like, no. That's not what we mean by rehearsal. Because if you watch the show, there's so many moving parts. And so what we were rehearsing was things like Gavin and Rachel, who were announcing it. It's like, when do you come out on stage? Then there's this, they run a trivia contest to see who gets to play first. Then you have representatives for each player, and whoever wins the trivia contest, their player gets to go first. And good Lord,
this podcast is definitely about you, Graham, and what you're saying. That's what we're all paying attention to.
Sure that Baxter's not being remotely distracted.
We were away for 6 days, and the cat's feeling a little emotionally fragile. For
anyone listening on the audio, the cat has climbed Mount Graham and is currently beginning its descent back to base camp.
Excellent. But little things that that ideally a viewer shouldn't think about, we're in the middle of doing the tech rehearsal on stage there, and it's sort of okay, well, hang on, because if I'm using, this isn't me, this is Rachel and Gavin, it's if I'm using the microphone for the trivia contest and I put it down here on this table, it needs to get over to that table, so who's going to move it? Someone has to be in this position at this point. Just lots of really small things that no one should ideally have to care about, certainly when you're watching, but that we all need to know about going through it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you did see the show, there was entrances. We got to do entrances, and they hired dancers from a local dance troupe, and there was 8 of them. And they had a quick change because it was 4 people would come out with Josh for his entrance, and then they would run backstage and change, and 4 people would come out with Kathleen for her entrance, and they'd run and change. And then Josh's dancers would, having changed, would come out with Jimmy, and then Kathleen's dancers, having changed, would come out with me. So because the whole thing was the interplanar games, like the Olympics, representing different planes. And so, for example, one group of 4 dancers had jumpsuits for the plane of Tarkir, which was my plane, over which they were wearing jumpsuits for Eldraine, which was Kathleen's plane, over which they were wearing their Eldraine costumes, which was like a tabard and a knitted hat and beard, making them look like a band of dwarves. And so hot. And so they did the thing and then ran back and ripping off one layer, and they're running around. So we rehearsed that 20 something times on Thursday.
Yeah, because we also had to time it out to the music, and there was going to be dance moves and stuff like that. And we had to hit a spot, right? I had a whole thing. I reacted to the narration and stuff like that. So, had to know where we were going to be when we were going to do that. I mean, we also did play the decks, because you can't stop at a game that's on a stage, in the middle of it, and be like, what does that card do again?
Yeah,
right?
We got to know our decks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the game itself, unscripted, couldn't possibly be scripted too, because again, there's that trivia contest for who goes first. We're bringing people up on stage to make gameplay decisions for us. And as we know, that is unpredictable.
Yes. And then we had the plane chase deck.
Oh my God.
So
I don't know. You guys could have had plants.
Don't put that mojo out there. Now people are going to be saying that we planted the people in the audience.
You could have had
realistically, I just picked
giant inflatable dice.
Yeah.
We could weighted giant inflatable dice.
The funny thing is, after all the rehearsal of the entrances and everything, so nervous backstage to be like, okay, here we go. Got to make sure we get this right. Got to hit the cues and everything and all that, doing all this stuff and making sure that that's all correct. That when we finally sit down and pick up our hand, it's like, oh hell, I have to play Commander now. Oh right, because I wasn't thinking at all about playing the actual game. But it's a unique experience playing a game of Commander in front of hundreds of screaming people.
Yeah, some of which are screaming for you, and most of which are screaming against you.
Shout out to Tarkir, the Tarkir section, because they were loud. Tarkir came to effing party.
But they were good sports too.
They were. So spoilers.
Oh, we're gonna put spoilers in the front of the video too, on the YouTube description. But if you missed that, spoilers. If
you want to watch the replay when it goes up on the Command Zone's YouTube channel in a week or two,
which we highly recommend.
Yes. Spoilers. If you want to watch that without knowing what happens in the game, stop watching this. Thank you, Baxter. But the end result was pretty amazing.
Hey.
Had this ready.
If you happen to have muted because you thought, I'll just wait until they're done talking about it, well, you've been spoiled.
That's a good kind of spoiler, though.
This is solid actual metal, too. It's really heavy. Kathleen took the game down. ASMR. In grand fashion, by the way.
I felt... Okay, so at the end, everyone's life totals were very low. Jimmy was at 3.
Yeah.
And Josh was at 6, and I was at 9. And I had been holding a Rakdos charm for turns and turns and turns and turns, because there was a lot of card draw and card discard happening. But I kept the Rakdos charm because I figured everyone else had more creatures and was doing more stuff than me, because I had fallen a bit behind. So I was going to be casting it in the 3rd mode, which is each creature deals 1 damage to its controller. And I had that and a Tybalt's Trickery in hand to try and protect it, because of Josh's commander was Vidalcan Ori on a stick, so he had infinite cards at infinite discount, essentially.
I love that. Nobody watching got to see that, but I love that you had the counter spell backup.
I pitched so many better cards. I held these 2, but I got rid of original Torbrand. I ditched Embercleave. I ditched Disruptus Decorum. I was like, these cards are are important. Also, I was a little bit cramped on mana, and they're cheap. They're cheap. People are like, why aren't you eating your food? It's like, because I can't cast a spell if I eat my food, right? Anyhow. So we got so the life totals are really low. I've got no board. Josh is absolutely going to win next turn. So I go Rakdos Charm, 3rd mode, and Josh looks at me and he goes, "Oh no." And it was, as Graham said,
it was the most genuine "oh no" from Josh. Like, it was obviously, when we're doing that, we're playing to the audience, we're amplifying things. This was not theatrics. This was Josh legitimately like, "Oh no." Like,
yeah, like, I was going to win this, and now I am absolutely not going to win. So that was, I felt genuinely bad. It was like that Simpsons meme where you can see the part where his heart breaks. Because Josh hasn't won a Game Nights Live yet, and it looked like he was going to win this one.
It did.
So yeah, so then...
Sport.
Yeah. But because Josh had like a Howling Mine out and whatever that other thing was that meant that we skipped our discard, that we got to draw an extra card, but we had to discard. I don't know. I was drawing 3 cards a turn at that point, and the card I ripped in my last draw 3 at that last turn was Rankle, Master of Pranks. So the Rakdos charm took out Josh, took Jimmy to 2. And then I was like deep in the tank trying to figure out how I could survive my next turn. And I forgot to see that Josh didn't have any flying blockers and was tapped out.
Or Jimmy.
Yes, Jimmy couldn't do anything about it. So I was like, oh, wait, you're tapped out? Wrinkle, Master of Pranks! Great cheering from the Eldraine section. And then, so now we have a new thing that's going to go up on the Loading Ready Run set once the replay goes live, because I don't want to spoil it for too many people.
Yeah. Oh, boy. And that was like, after that was when MagicCon Minneapolis could even really begin for us.
Yes.
It was, yeah.
I was a little stressed about that. I may have had a nightmare the night before where I forgot how to play Magic on stage. It was a lot. I just wanted to do a good job and to play well and to win, obviously, because now my deck gets to go to Vegas at the Grand Championships. Mm-hmm. So that's very fun.
And that's very particular wording.
Just your deck?
The deck goes to Vegas. They haven't announced. We have no idea.
Yep.
They haven't announced who's going to be necessarily playing the decks. It can be assumed that Josh and Jimmy will be there, and then 2 other people representing the decks that win Game Nights Live at Vegas, Philly, Minneapolis, and Barcelona.
Yeah. Now, the reason they say the decks is because we don't know how the games are going to turn out, and it is very possible that in Barcelona, when they play another game, maybe Josh wins, maybe Jimmy wins again. And so if Jimmy has 2 decks winning, he can't play both of his decks, right? You have to assume that there's very possible that somebody wins multiple times.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Anyhow, I am very proud. I'm very happy. Go Team Eldraine. R.I.P. Tarkir. The Bears had a lot of fun, though.
That's okay. It was I told this I told this story to anybody who would listen, but because we'll talk about the rest of the MagicCon shortly, obviously, but because Jimmy killed me with a flyer because my deck is very, very, very weak to flyers. Jor-El
of Zelfir?
Is that the epithet?
Gelfir?
No, it's Jor-El. She turns lands into flyers. And Jimmy hit me for like 24 points of damage over the course of the game with this card.
Yeah.
That's Jor-El, Voice of Selvier. At the beginning of combat on your turn, up to 1 target land you control becomes an XX green and blue bird with flying and haste, where X is the number of cards in your hand. So yeah, and thanks to Josh's deck, Jimmy had so many cards in hand that it was just like, ow. I had 4 bears in play, one of whom was Ayula, queen among bears, and the other one was Surek and Goreclaw, which Ayula either puts counters on the bear or makes bears fight, and Surek and Goreclaw puts a counter on a non-token thing and gives them haste, and all of your creatures have trample. So the plan was untap, play Nykthos, generate 13 mana, play the 2 more bears I had in hand, all of which were drawing multiple cards from Beast Whisperer and the Great Henge and Tribute to the World Tree and Guardian Project. Then
You're drawing 4 cards every time you cast a bear.
Yeah, it was really silly. Then cast Kindred Summons, which was open information that everyone had seen me cast. So put 6 more bears into play, every one of them triggering Ayula and knocking off blockers. And then everything is also huge from the Great Henge and Surak and Goreclaw and Tribute to the World Tree and Ayula. And so they're all just massive and trample and haste. And that probably would have
You would have literally killed everybody else. It would have
potentially. I don't know what Josh had, but clearly if he had a counterspell, he would have survived. So
you absolutely would have been able to kill me and Jimmy.
Maybe. He did cast a White Sun's Twilight, so if he'd had that in hand at that point.
Oh, that was turns later that he had the White Sun's Twilight. Yeah. The point being
Jimmy was correct to kill me.
Yes, because that would have been a very short game if he hadn't, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Man, White Sun's Twilight with Flash? Terrifying.
So, in case you're wondering, in case Graham was playing Bear Force 2, I was not playing Slimefoot and Squee from my recent victory on game nights. I am now back-to-back beating Graham, Jimmy, and John.
Wow.
Which is funny because I cannot win an EDSC to save my life. Apparently, if we record anything at the moon base, I will lose or not draw land. But I was my commander was Ranklin Torbran, who are really terrifying and disgusting. But we're well policed up by everybody else, not letting them ever hit anything.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have definitely been doing a lot of work. My deck mostly killed people with a single witty roast master.
Mm-hmm.
Before we move on from game nights, can you just tell us a little bit about the experience of wearing your costumes?
Oh man, I saw on our internal Slack, Nelson posted a picture from from Airplane,
right?
Yeah, with the guy just sweating profusely. So because I had a tracksuit, Lady Danger from Game Nights from the Command Zone made all these costumes and they're all amazing. She put all of this together and or if not made them, then like arranged for their creation. And so I had a tracksuit for Tarkir, and then on top of that I had this like bear jacket. So it's like brown fur with things that can flop at the end of the sleeves. They can flop over your hands and have claws. And then the hood, as it were, also is like a top half of a giant bear head. So it was this amazing looking thing that did not breathe. Mm-hmm. And so on the day, it was actually okay. But doing 20 run-throughs in a row, and they were like, you don't have to wear the bear suit for this. And I'm like, I think I do, because I need to know how it's going to move and how I'm going to move it. And because I was like shrugging the hood on and off, and it was like important to practice that. So I was fucking dying on Thursday.
Graham going method in rehearsal.
Yeah. And then for the actual thing, I was backstage, and it was like, I think it was halfway through Jimmy's entrance, the one before mine, that I was like, okay, now I'm putting it on. Like I waited till the last feasible moment.
You're quick changing with your dancers.
Basically, yeah.
And that looked like a really thick, heavy suit as well that you were wearing.
It looked thick. Well, didn't you have, instead of a tracksuit on the day, didn't you have like that new nice hoodie, like the Magic 30 or whatever, like MagicCon hoodie?
Oh no, I traded. I mean,
okay, all right.
No, I traded backstage.
I just knew you had like, I could see from the back of the audience, it's like you've got a full set of clothes on, and this like
Graham
bear suit.
Nude, yes,
yeah,
no, it was
not
really
in the
warm.
bear.
They did have some little towels for us to like dab sweat off my brow, which
and
was
I
nice.
think they brought out a fan like partway through.
Yeah, and that
it got cooler on stage.
They actually we used because the Pro Tour was next door at MagicCon, and so they sent us back to the Pro Tour hair and makeup lady who's been doing it for like 7 years, and so she put like setting powder, and like she put something on my face to make me not look quite so damp on the cameras, which I really appreciated. So yeah, that was.
It was honestly like I'm not a sweaty person, but it was a little bit stressful. I had a tracksuit as well, but mine had sequins.
Yours looked amazing too, yeah.
Fancy.
Yeah.
But I had a T-shirt underneath, and at the end, I was like, "All right, lady, where do you want this T-shirt?" She's like, "No, you can keep it." I was like, "Good," because it's wet. Like if I had thrown it at her, it would have made a splut noise.
Oh.
I mean, it was very stressful.
Yeah.
I wanted to win.
Yeah.
They let us keep the costumes though.
Oh, nice.
So that's amazing.
Did yours also have a battery pack, Kathleen, or you had a sequin shirt, and then you also had
I had light
wings.
up. I had light up an iridescent wing cape thing with that I had to check full extension on, because if I had fully extended it while I was going down the aisle, I definitely would have hit someone in the face. And Jordan from Command Zone did say I could hit one person as long as they were over 18, and insurance would cover it.
All right.
But I opted not to test that theory, so I went down the aisle sideways and just did the big maneuvers when I came out. I looked as elegant as I could, and although one of the dancers did look at me when I was sort of rehearsing my moves, saying I was giving her big Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld vibes.
Yeah.
To your face?
Yes.
They're
She
already
meant
getting
it in a
paid.
nice way.
Yeah. She's already cashed her check, right?
As a compliment.
As a compliment, it's funny.
Oh.
I mean, I will say my biggest influence for the dance moves I developed was Ministry of Silly Walks. So,
Nice.
dance moves.
When game night started, because I was over at the booth. Where was I, Beej? I was at the booth. I could hear everything kind of going on. I was like, okay, things are happening. And then all of a sudden, I'm standing there just helping somebody else, and I'm like, by God, that's Graham Stark's music. Because I knew immediately when I heard it, I was like, Graham is doing some sort of wrestling intro on whatever is happening right now. And I turned and looked at the screen. I'm like, yep, that's what's going on.
Yeah, Graham's entrance had big wrestling entrance vibes, which was great. It was perfect. It also had a person in a bear suit. I just thought I want to say you should watch the replay on YouTube when it goes live, because we're not really doing it justice with the description.
So, MagicCon, the rest of it though, I should mention, because we mentioned this last time that we did a post MagicCon podcast, that we were invited by Wizards. We were there by their graces monetarily, so they paid for our transport and accommodations and a small fee for just to be there. So I want to make that clear to everyone watching. They did. I was pleased to notice they did reduce the actual ticket price for this one over Philadelphia, which I think is good, because that's something that we raised last time. I still think it's again, you're still charging people money to come into a convention where the only thing to do in the convention is spend money. Unless you're just looking for commander pickup games, all the tournaments and everything cost extra amounts. There's lots of stuff to buy and people to see and all that. I was amazed actually how many people asked us. Hi, Baxter. I appreciate your input. How many people asked us? How much do you charge for autographs, or how much for a selfie or whatever? Which for us, by the way, is not. It's different for the artists, because in Artist Alley, they're charging for signatures, because that's how they make money. That's how it's worth it for them to come out here. But we're there to meet people and to hang out and to say hi. And so, they were like, oh, it's free? Then yes, please do sign my playmat. And we were like, yes, absolutely. We'd be happy to sign your playmat.
I did have that question from somebody at the booth, and I had to explain them, look, when you go to a Comic-Con and Shatner is there and he's charging $300 a signature, that's because if he didn't, the line would be 1.5 miles long. That's why people charge for signatures, is because they need to keep the line short so they don't blow out their hand for the weekend. Yeah.
Whereas that's not. I mean, although on Sunday we had a signing that we'd sort of penciled it in for 90 minutes, and it was over 2 hours before the line cleared through.
We appreciate your enthusiasm.
Which is amazing. We love it. Thank you so much.
Please tell Wizards how much you like us and you want us to come back.
Yeah.
It also made it easier to, make the signing make sense, because people were buying the playmats from us to sign, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We were selling stuff. So.
Yeah, I did not feel bad about that at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So Nelly, you've been to for originally GPs and then Magic Fests for that period of time where that was the thing, and now this, the MagicCon. This was your first MagicCon. How did it hit you? What was it like for you?
This one was great. I was talking with some of the staff and judges, and it seems like everyone agrees that Minneapolis went over really well. I'm sure there's still a few things to iron out, but apparently, the first one, Vegas, is there were some sort of major overarching challenges and maybe a lack of understanding between the various main organizations that are running it. I think it's Pastimes, Reed Pop, and
Wizards.
WotC. Yeah. And then in Philly, it was okay, that's smoothed out now. We've got more kind of Grand Prix and Magic Fest level regular administration challenges that we're smoothing out, because it's still like all those things that we mentioned before. Like whenever I've been to a Magic Fest or a Grand Prix, there's usually like one thing at least where it's like, oh, this line was always too long, or like this aspect of the con wasn't communicated clearly until like the last day, and people were like wasting some time doing something. There was some hiccup that, you know, made the whole engine kind of clunk. But by this one, so this is only the third one of these MagicCons, it seemed like I didn't talk to anyone who had any particular like strong complaint.
Yeah.
And my experience was like incredibly smooth. And also, yeah, I'm like for these MagicCons in general. There's so much to do. I guess the problem now is that like you've really just got to pick how you're gonna go through your 3 days, because, you know, I mean, you don't have a choice if you're in the Pro Tour maybe, because that's happening next door. And then in the main event, there's like all these like dealers and artists you could watch the entertainment or panels that are happening, and then there's a whole schedule of events. So it's like this versus like a Magic Fest or a Grand Prix, or the side events of a Pro Tour. I've also been to those, or like Magic at PAX. Like this event just had everything. It was like anything that you have done at a previous Magic event was at this con, and it also ran really smooth. So those two things together really surprised me.
Yeah, I wasn't at Magic 30 in Vegas. I was at Philly, and even just from Philly to here, this seemed a lot more smooth. And talking to like the judges or the people running tournaments or other vendors, and of course, most importantly, the attendees, people were like, "No, there's no complaints. This is a much more smooth experience than even Philadelphia was." The layout for this one it's kind of cool. The Minneapolis Convention Center has basically 4 giant halls. And so they had one air-walled off, and that was the Pro Tour and an enormous free play area. It was just, there's tables, you can go play games. It's open season, go for it. And then the other halls were the main stage and part of the dealer floor. And then, and this was all just open. Then the dealer floor and the Magic Show store that also had the artist alley that sort of transitioned into the command zone area, which was not separately ticketed this time. I think this is a great change that they made over Philadelphia, is that you did not have to pay extra to go into the command zone, which is a place to play Commander, and they have judges there to run it. And it's a thing where you can just like get like a sign that says like, looking for group, we're looking for a casual game, we're looking for a competitive game, we're looking for this kind of game. And you can like set yourself down at a table and be like, I'm looking for a pod, and people can come and be like, yeah, I want to play that. And I'm so glad that was not a separate ticket this time. And then the whole rest of it was just a giant tournament area. But you're right, because, you know, if you do a tournament like a sealed event or something, you know, that's like potentially 4 hours, right?
Yeah.
Of your
maybe
weekend.
More. Yeah.
And maybe more. I mean, Gavin's...
there were PTQs that went the whole day, right? They had like 9-round PTQs happening on, I think, maybe all 3 days.
Yeah.
In that
the only complaint I heard, and I heard this one frequently about the events, was that the LRRR Chaos event sold out almost immediately, and a lot of people who wanted to play did not get to play. And we said, we're really sorry. Please pass your feedback on to the organizers that you wanted to do this event and couldn't, because I believe the LRRR Chaos event, which we did, which was very cool, sold out like it wasn't super big, so it sold out like the day tickets went on sale or something.
Yeah, by the nature of the event, it had a cap that it had to be capped at. So, you know, if you want to pass that in feedback on, that you liked it and you wished you could participate and want to see more of it, then that'd be good for us. And maybe in future we'll get to maybe run more than one of them, like on two separate days or something.
Yeah.
Does more players necessarily mean a longer event, though?
No.
Oh, good.
Yeah. What we did is, how it worked was, it was Chaos sealed.
It was
Chaos draft. Sorry.
It was like Chaos sealed.
Yes.
It was Chaos Mega Draft. I've never heard of Mega Draft before this weekend.
Yeah.
But it was a draft with 6 packs, which was so many cards.
So much drafting.
They split everyone up into tables of 18, and then one of us was at each of those tables. And then the way it worked is, instead of a normal one where your pod is 8, this time the entire table of 18 was the pod. So you open a pack, you pick a card from it, and then you never see it again. And so we did that, you know, left, right, left, right, left, right.
Yeah.
6 packs. Which it was just madness. The
what are signals?
Yeah.
Not available in this format.
I appreciate that the tournament organizer, I think they put together a nice selection of packs. Basically, each bundle of 6 boosters was 4 sets from sort of recent standards. So, March of the Machine, New Phyrexia, or Phyrexia all will be one.
Midnight Hunt, Crimson Vow, that kind of stuff.
1 pack of Mystery Booster Convention Edition, and then 1 pack of sort of older stuff. So, like Ixalan, Dominaria. I saw a pack of Gatecrash going around.
Mm-hmm. Mine was Theros Beyond Death.
Oh, yeah.
I had Adventures in the Forgotten Realms.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
So like Pioneer sets, not really. I didn't have any really, really old packs, but
no,
that's fine.
Honestly, that's probably better for like power level, because when you mix in some of those old packs, like the mechanics can be kind of parasitic, and they don't really play well with some of the newer cards. And it's like, if that's, and like in the Mystery Booster Convention Edition, you could get some very old cards, right? Because they were all just random.
I had instances where it's like, all right, so you have 1 poison counter, I have 3 energy and an experience counter, and like it was very, very strange. And then it's just we played within the pods, within those flights they called them. We played within those 18-player flights, and so I got to, it worked really well for us to like mingle with folks, right? Because it's like, sure, you're only playing one-on-one with one person, but like during the draft, there's people all around you. And then while you're playing, there's people there's other matches to either side of you. So, I mean, I don't know how Flight 2, Kathleen, or Flight 3, Nelson went, but, we were doing a lot of banter and over in Flight 1.
Yeah, Flight 2 was having a good time down at our end of the table. And yeah, it was really fun. I went 1 and 2. My one win came from round 3, where my opponent was playing a mill deck, the Natural Enemy, or which was very weak to me, who was playing a 60 card deck because I didn't feel like making cuts. So unfortunately, my opponent had a really hard time milling me out.
I was also running a 60 card deck.
Did we all play 60 cards?
Did you play 60 as well?
Because Ben Ulmer played 60 cards just because he also didn't feel like making cuts, and I drafted Yorion.
So that's the funny thing is I was like, so I have a 60 card deck, and they'd be like, Yorion? I'm like, oh, no. My excuse was that I opened the Mystery Booster playtest card Witty Demon, which is just a great card on its own. It's 1 black for a 4/3 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to you, unless your deck has 13 more cards than the starting required minimum, in which case, when it enters the battlefield, you tutor. So I was like, oh, so I want to play a 53 card deck for this. What if I just play 60? Then I don't have to make any cuts and I don't have to think as hard.
Yeah, my thought was like, I was working on cuts and I realized if I played a 60 card deck, I could just add back 3 cards.
Yeah.
And then I was done deck building and I could start fighting.
I love that Witty Demon is the art for it. He's like doing stand up.
Yeah.
Here till Friday, thank your waiters.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I just realized I got confused. I did play, the rest of you all played 60 cards, and James probably played 40 cards. I played 40 cards, and I opened Yorion in Gavin's Unknown event later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I actually did play 40 cards. I also went 2 and 1. I want to give a shout out to my whole flight. Flight 3, we weren't quite done first. I think maybe your group was done first, Kathleen, but they did draft quite quickly. Everyone was doing a really good job of drafting, and I lost in the first round to, I think, Keegan on Boros aggro with an equipment theme, and his deck just flew out of the gates, just like kept putting stuff down in the first 3 turns and getting synergy out of the equipment, and had too many flyers for me, and I got rolled over.
I want to give a shout out to one of the head judge for the event, Carter, because one of the registered folks showed up late, and Carter was like, well, ordinarily I just got to say sorry and give you the packs and you don't get to play, but this isn't an ordinary event, so hold on a moment. And he came over to me and he was like, I got a question for you. this person arrived late and you've already drafted 2 packs. what should we do? And I was like, oh, I think we should let him play. And Carter was like, yes, let chaos reign. So what we did is we were like, all right, look, we're 2 packs deep. So the table, without your input, new person who just arrived, the table is going to pick 2 of your 6 packs, and those you just have to open, and you get all 15 cards from those packs, and then you join the draft for the remaining 4 packs. So we picked, it was I think it was Mystery Booster and it was like,
was it the old one?
I don't know. Was it like, maybe was it Ixalan? No, it was Streets of New Capenna. We're like, there you go. Have those.
That's good because they could get some good fixing in
potentially
SNC.
Yeah. But so it was like, yeah, come on, sit down. You're in the draft now. Let's go. Which was great. It was just,
it was chaos.
Yeah.
It was honestly a very fun, like, I did not do well, but I had a lot of fun. It was really fun to draft, and it was really fun to play because the decks were wild. My second opponent had 2 just counter spells.
Oh, just counter spell.
Just
wow.
blue counter spell, which was honestly soul crushing. But I had to respect their deck building prowess because they put together a really good white-blue like control deck. So I was just kind of playing like Sultai good stuff, with a not disciplined deck build. But it worked out. We had a really good time, honestly.
Yeah. I went 3-0. So come to the Loading Ready Run event. Let me fight you.
I had used up all of my winning previously on game nights.
Yeah.
So I was due for some poor choices and bad luck.
So Beej.
Yes.
You don't play Magic the Gathering.
I don't, no.
Despite being a level 5 super judge.
Famously. I don't have time to actually play a game because I'm spending too much time actually learning all the mechanics and delegating a lot of my time to, to my custom format, Beejlander.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing at the MagicCon?
The booth.
Yeah.
That was my raison d'etre and in retrospect, like learning a lot from actually being there this weekend to see how things go down as well. Because I should have come out when James came out, which would have been like before, but I wanted to fly out with everybody else because I'm like, well, I'm booking these flights. I should probably take the flights with the rest of the crew, and because if they have to suffer, then so should I.
Yeah, Beej, what was our flight schedule again?
So we flew Alaska Airlines, and Alaska Airlines can only get from Victoria to Minneapolis if you fly out at 2:00 in the afternoon and then have a 4-hour layover in Seattle. Or when you fly home, you can only get home if you fly out at 7 a.m. from Minneapolis and have another 4-hour layover in Seattle. But then you get home at 1:00.
Yeah, the times that we were in Victoria at the airport were great.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bens and I all didn't mind that we got into our hotel at 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning or whenever it was. But then the fact that we had to have like an 8:30 meeting back at the booth the next morning was pretty rough.
Yeah, it sucked. It sucked very hard. But I did it with you guys because I felt like it was also important that I be a part of that too. But in retrospect, yeah, I should have come out a day early so that I could have set up the booth because we relied upon James to set up the booth in this case. Yeah. And then I could have also gone over all of the logistics stuff that we would have had to have done with the cruise in Minneapolis with the people who run the event center and all that.
Yeah.
And it was good though.
Good.
I will say that Graham and I came out early, but it's just Minneapolis to Victoria to Minneapolis is not a great route because Graham and I had to go from Victoria to Calgary, from Calgary to Salt Lake City, and then from Salt Lake City to Minneapolis, so it took literally all day. Our flights left at 10 a.m. and we got in at like 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Right.
Coming back, this is interesting. James and we two were on the same flight out of Minneapolis, which left at a more human time of like 10 a.m. From there to Vancouver. And then, of course, we had the flight from Vancouver. This is very granular for everybody listening. How's it going? Then we had the
you got to understand that if you live on an island like we do, that this is very interesting.
Yeah.
Victoria LRR fans, what up?
Yeah. Then it was the flight from Vancouver to Victoria. We had like a 2-hour, 2.5-hour layover in Vancouver. James was on a different Vancouver Victoria flight that was like 4 or 5 hours on the ground in Vancouver.
Jesus.
So, and he tried to get on our flight, and they were no help. So he was like, all right, F this. I'm taking the ferry.
Yeah.
And I'll race you. So we determined.
Winner buys ice cream.
Yeah, we do. I was like, what? I was like, what do you what's the finish line? How do you like what it's like city limits? What do we do? And I don't know where he got this from. He's like, take a picture of the Whole Foods sign.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
oh,
I love that on the highway, right?
Yeah. It's like Saanich Victoria border or whatever.
Yeah, so he got off the plane and just like got a cab to the ferry terminal. I think he was able to get like the one, and our flight left at 2:30. Right. We also had to wait for, normally we only do carry on, but we had a box of, among other things, a bear costume and some snacks that lovely people had brought us and things to go back to the moon base and stuff. So we had an extra piece of luggage. But so we waited in the Vancouver airport very randomly at the Stanley Park Grill, ran into Takahata 101.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah. No, we were sitting there eating, and then we sat down, and Graham was like, look at that. And he had headphones in and was watching something on his phone. So we noticed, and he didn't. So Graham texted him. What did you say?
Cinnamon roll at the back of his head?
I said, assuming this is still your phone number, look to your left. And the expression on his face, because he's watching like Family Guy or something on his phone, and I see the notification come in, and he's like, yeah.
Soundtrack from Scream starts up in the background of his mind. Yeah,
this was his first convention or his first travel in like 4 years or something. Yeah. He was doing some stuff with Team 4-Star. So
nice.
We caught up. That was lots of fun. Then we get on the plane and fly over and land. And you'll know again if you're local that a 1 p.m. ferry should dock around 2:40. And then I don't know how he was getting back into town. It looked like he was in the car. It didn't look like he took the bus. Anyway, it was like 3:19. He texted me a picture of the Whole Foods sign, and I wasn't able to respond with my picture until 3:40. So it was about 20 minutes that he managed to beat us back into town. But
if he had taken public transit,
no chance,
no way,
we would have won.
Yeah. But now you know that it's like there is he took a terrible risk because he could have missed the ferry by like 10 minutes or something, and then that would have been it. You would have won.
Yeah.
Well, but it was
even if he missed that ferry, he probably would have still beaten his plane that he was on, though.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
So good calculated move, James.
Yeah. Smart play.
Anyway, we were talking about the booth.
Briefly, you were talking about the booth.
Sorry.
Yeah. So MagicCon very kindly provided us with a booth. Again, thank you for that, because it allowed us not only a place to sell stuff, but a place to arrange for like a signing and things. And Beej, you were basically there the whole weekend.
Yeah, and which was good for me. And I had so many people ask me, they're like, why are you like this? Does this suck for you? Like, is this bad? Like, why aren't you're stuck at the booth? Like that constantly hearing like, you're slaving away at the booth. You're stuck at the booth. They put you here. And I'm kind of like, no, this is my job. Like, this is like literally me being here. What would I do? Like, where would I go? The best answer I had is well, you'd run Beejlander. And I'm like, well, that's a question for a future MagicCon. Obviously, that's not for this one. But
I mean, it worked out well to have you chained to the booth, because the thing is, the rest of us who did play Magic, if we had to run the booth, then we wouldn't have been able to play in the events that we were playing in and stuff like that, and we would have got I played literally as much Magic as I could cram in. Yeah. Like I was playing LobbyCon Magic like after hours and stuff like that. But like, we were busy. So we would have like, if we had the booth responsibilities, I would have done the events I was obligated to be in, and that would have been it. So like that would have been great.
There's a whole thing of being able to just be there and operate that and act as kind of this hub for people to come back to and drop your stuff off and have that kind of that more convenience built in, to have a place where it's like, because Nelly, you and James and Ben would show up at the booth, and then all of a sudden there'd be a lineup of about 10 people who want signatures, and so then you would do that, and then and I mean, it was I liked that as a means of, because we had two big tables, so it's like I kind of just camped my one table, the other table was full of play mats, which was great because you guys had a place to always show up and sign, because there's a very flat surface to work on. And yeah, I mean, other than a few logistical problems involving taking cards, which we could not do, or having to figure out how we're going to get stuff moved out. We had a lot of help from the locals at Fern. They're the logistics people operating the event. They were very helpful and helped me get through that problem of, okay, how do we actually get our stuff out of here? Because every other exhibitor, as I found out, I talked to all of the exhibitors. No, I didn't. That's a lie. I talked to a lot of the exhibitors, and they're all like, oh, we're just going to throw our stuff in the back of the van and drive it back to Madison. And I'm like that kind of thing where it's like, oh, we have a thing already lined up. We're taking it all back to the B&B and we're going to worry about it tomorrow. And I'm like, I hate everything because none of you have the same problem I have where I'm getting on a plane at ass o'clock in the morning and I can't go to the business center because it's closed now and it'll be closed then by the time I leave.
Yeah.
So Fern was very helpful and helped us get all our stuff out and some good union people, and I applaud them for the work they did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you get enough breaks? Because I know, like you mentioned, like James or I, or like everybody was coming by to the booth to like touch base with you and maybe drop stuff off or grab something. But
the secret is to only eat food that will keep you from having to use the washroom for the entire day, and that's what I did. So I was, I just
so you were constipated and dry.
I had a natural bolus.
You just on the TikTok engagement diet of too much cheese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
I had to
breakfast every morning was a bunch of like cinnamon rolls and breads, and I'm like, if I just have those, that will be fine. So
Beej, the fruit was right next to those things.
I had the fruit, but I made sure I had more breads than fruit so that it wouldn't counteract it.
Oh, I went more fruit than bread. Clearly, I was doing it wrong.
I made sure to intentionally stop drinking like 20 minutes before drinking water, 20 minutes before the game nights live, because I was like, I've done this before where I sit down at a panel at a convention and there's the water that's provided and I just slam it because I'm talking. And then halfway through the panel, I have to like run to the bathroom really awkwardly. And I didn't want to do that in the middle of the Commander game. So, and they had a bottle of water beside our chairs. And I had to be like, don't open it. Don't open it, Graham. Don't do it. Because if I had, it would have been like, excuse me, Josh, I need to run to the bathroom. And which didn't happen, thankfully.
That's good.
But,
it wasn't like I was without breaks, like, or rather, it wasn't like I wasn't without opportunities to take breaks because James would come by every so often, and the other guys would come by and be like, "Do you need to go do a thing?" And I'm like, "Funnily, no. Actually, go back and do your thing, or stick around here and do your thing." And that was very appealing. I had a lot of fun. Selling to people and meeting people. And I mean, people are like, are you having a good time? I'm like, yeah, I'm getting to see product leave the store. You have no idea what kind of a good time that is for me.
I had a great time with just everyone that we met, everyone who came by. Some people stopped us just walking through and were like, hey, real quick, I'm running to a thing. Can I get you to sign this? Or can I take a picture? Which we're happy to do. And I did that. People would come by the booth when we were there and just sort of like a line would form. Our booth was in a really nice spot. Thank you again. When we did our actual signing, just all the people who had nice and wonderful things to say. I described it on Mastodon as a heart-filling experience. That post didn't cross post to Twitter like my other posts do. I wonder if it's because I used the word Mastodon. Anyway, it was a wonderful, wonderful time to meet all of you who are listening. And if you weren't able to make it, I hope you can come to another thing that we do in the future, because it was really, really nice.
I do have a question for you guys, though. Did anyone ever interrupt one of your games to get a signature?
Yes.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
I'm sorry to hear that. Okay.
No, that's okay.
I told lots of people at the booth, I'm like, without prompting from you, but I told people at the booth, I'm like, if you want to see them, they're over in the event areas. Like, you can go find them at there. Wait until they're done their game and then ask them to sign stuff. They'll be more than happy to do that.
Actually, I will correct that. Nobody actually ever interrupted a game for me.
Right.
I got during maybe during deck build, certainly sitting down before a game, after a game, sideboarding,
walking to the event
between rounds. But I didn't actually ever have anyone interrupt like mid game.
I had a couple of mid game interruptions during the unknown event, and I just said the only time I allowed it is because I hadn't yet even played my first card. But I was like, I am in the middle of a game. Please wait. Watch the game if you want to.
Yeah.
I am playing right now.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Yeah, like I props for asking, but like if I'm actively playing Magic, I would love to talk to you as soon as I'm done, but I'm in the middle of a game, so I find it disrespectful to my opponent to interrupt what I'm doing.
Especially because the opponent doesn't always know what's going on. Like
they
very
don't.
often, I would say.
Let's assume they don't know.
Yeah, it's gotten more and more with people knowing who we are, which is nice. Generally speaking, whoever I'm playing with will know, and sometimes they'll say it beforehand. Sometimes they'll keep it very cool, and I'll have no idea until after the game. They'll be like, "Hey, thank you for the games. Could you please sign this?" Like, and I won't know until after. But sometimes, you're sitting down, the round's about to start. Someone's like, "Hey, I'm sorry, real quick before you start, can you sign this?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, absolutely, sure." And do that because like we're still shuffling up, and that's totally fine. And then be like, "Thank you, I really love your stuff. All right, have a great rest of your weekend," and they'll walk away. And my opponent will be sitting there, sort of shuffling, and be like, "All right, so what was that? Who are you?"
What's that all about?
Yeah.
It's nothing. I was just in the top 8 the last 3 tournaments. So
Yeah.
You want to go first?
Yeah.
And so generally, but even in those situations, generally one of the 4 people in the 2 matches on either side will weigh in and be like, "Oh, this is Graham from Loading Ready Run," or whatever. But I think it's you're not obliged to know who we are.
No.
But I think it's I enjoy when someone's like, what's good? You YouTube or something, or what's up with that? And I'm like, I will happily explain.
Yeah.
See, that's exciting at the booth too, because if people are there and they have no idea, because my line is always like, "Are you familiar with our particular brand of bullshit?" And they're like, "What? Sorry, huh?" And then I fill them in on who we are if they don't get it. And don't say that to kids, obviously, or or at least if the parents are around. I don't. But what that'll usually do, like if somebody comes to the booth and they're like, while other people are looking and they don't really know what's going on, you have 3 people show up to the booth and be like, "Can you sign this?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And then I'll sign stuff. And at that point, people who weren't customers are now like, "Oh, aren't you a special little boy? What's this all about?" And they want to know why people are so excited. Yeah, because they're like, "I don't know what's happening, but I need to talk to this guy."
Why is Beej a shiny penny?
Yeah.
Did I have to ask Beej, was there ever consideration for you to not wear the Beej convention outfit?
Oh, absolutely not. No,
I didn't think so.
I bought a bigger bag so I'd have more space to carry it.
It was, it was a big nature is healing moment to see you on the Friday morning wearing that. It was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. I mean, not for James, because when I came downstairs, he's like, "Ah, shit, I thought the pandemic would have killed that." And I'm like, "No, it's only going to get more powerful, man."
Yeah, if anyone doesn't know, the outfit in question involves a Canada flag top hat and then some kind of like incredible
Japanese happy, which has Matsuri on the back.
Happy. All right, yeah. It's very loud colors though. It's
and
like
then I have
bright
custom
blue with a bottom red.
Yeah, and then I have custom Canadian maple leaf hakama that Heather made for me a few years ago. And I've been wearing that's my second pair. And so I've been wearing this outfit since I was in my 20s. And I'm like, I think that's my Dorian Gray, is that I'm like, as long as I continue to wear these things, my face will never age and I will look the same forever.
Also, you're hard to miss.
That's true. Yeah, the whole point of the outfit was always just so that you can find me in a crowd, but it also helps then with the booth, because literally I was sitting down, somebody came to the booth, they were looking at all the stuff, and really they were just looking at all the stuff and not really interested, not really whatever. And they kind of asked a question without looking at me. They asked like, "How much are the sleeves or whatever?" I said, "The sleeves are $20. And, we also have them in a playmat and whatever." And the guy like turns to look at me. He's like, "Okay, that's good." "Oh, Jesus, it's Beej." Like they had no idea. And I'm like, I shouldn't be sitting because then you can't see the whole outfit. But they were caught genuinely off guard. It was great.
Incredible.
Oh, that's delightful. That's so much fun. What was, I mean, I guess, broadly speaking, the booth was what you did.
Yeah.
I guess Nelly, what was like your standout thing? I mean, for both of you as well, Beej. What was both of you? What was like your standout thing of the weekend?
Nelly, if you got one, go first.
Yeah, I really liked to play Canadian Highlander with people.
Oh yeah.
So I wish I had more time or organizational skills to do that, but I found Angel at the end of I think the first day on Friday, and we played a bunch of games.
There?
Oh, you didn't get to see Angel? Yeah, she brought cookies. Oh yeah, you two were busy. Like your schedule was perhaps the densest. I was almost as busy for like the first 2 days, but then Sunday I got to just like hang out more and just spend a bunch of time at the booth and chatting with people and signing mats like before we all had to be there. But then I also got to play a bunch of other people at Canadian Highlander. And I also got to see some cosplayer friends. So that was great. And yeah, that's it for me. I will say too, I had a low light where I lost my favorite water bottle, and there was this bizarre saga of like Friday night I leave it at a commander table and then like run off to go to the party or whatever, meet up with friends, and then realize I've lost it. Then find the people that I was playing commander with the day before, because they like said hi to me and they were like, "Was this yours?" We turned it in at the desk, and then apparently like from the desk it moved to a bunch of other desks, and I went to all the desks multiple times. And at one point on Sunday, a security guard working for the venue was like, "Is it one of these?" and rolls out a tray of like 15 water bottles, and I'm like, "Nope." So yeah, anyways, but it was such a joy to play Canadian Highlander, and of course my like unknown and sealed or draft matches too were good.
Yeah, the unknown event was fun. They did 2 of them, and they put 3 of us in each of them. So yeah, our Saturday, as you mentioned, Nelly, was they put you and myself and Kathleen in the Saturday one, which meant that our Sunday was a little bit more free. I did manage to sneak in a mystery booster draft. So I did, because my Friday was just a write-off, and then Saturday was
back-to-back events.
It was
time at the booth,
mystery booster draft, and the loading ready run chaos, and then the Gavin's event. The Gavin's event started at 6, and I finished my last match at 5 after 10. And then Sunday was a little bit more chill. Yeah. But yeah. Oh, and then we did. There was the Black Lotus party on Friday, which was very nice. And they showed off some. They previewed some Lord of the Rings cards. That halfling is bananas. That
new mana dork just dropped.
Yeah, the mana dork is wild. It's just a single green mana for a 1/2, taps for colorless, or taps for 1 mana of any color, but you can only use it to cast legendary spells. But if you do, it can't be countered. And it's like, whoa, hold on. This is roller coaster of
where's the downside?
Yeah, it's like downside, upside, downside, upside. It's very good. Yeah. That was fun. They did it through the form of a trivia game with Matt Tabak, who's a delight.
Very funny man.
Yeah, it was just great meeting people and hanging out and seeing all the stuff. And yeah, I had a blast. I mean, I don't think I could say that anything was my highlight that isn't Game Nights Live, because that was an unreal experience. But the whole show was just great. Getting to see people and sign things and take pictures and stuff. And
I think one of mine was giving away stuff.
Oh, giving away stuff was fun too, because they gave us a bunch of sealed product to give away, and so we got to be like,
"I'm paying out."
Yeah,
like we were giving out like secret layers and commander decks, not just collector boosters. It was great.
It was very cool to.
Some people came by the booth and they were like, "We met through watching your content, and now we're engaged." And it was like, "Oh, that's amazing! Have a secret layer."
Yeah.
Yes. Here's a wedding present.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
You ain't special.
Yeah.
Like dozens of you.
I had a great time doing Game Nights Live. I had a really good time doing the Chaos and Unknown events. Shout out to the kid who was sitting across from me, who was doing his first ever sealed ever at the Unknown event. As in, like, how many cards do I put in? What if I don't open enough land? Right? No, you can add as much land as you want. You want to run 23 cards. You want probably 16 or 17 creatures, right? He had swords, so you need something to wield. And that was I hope that kid did good. Michelle Rapp and I ended up helping him with deck building advice. I spent so long helping him. I was like, oh no, how do I make cuts? And then just some other guy who came by named Alec was like, oh wow, yeah, this pool is hard. Maybe that was just like bouncing ideas off me and was like unsolicited advice, but very much appreciated, of just like, oh, I see. Yeah. Right. Like,
I ran into him later when he asked for a signature, and he said, if Kathleen's pool is bad, I'm sorry, because I helped build it.
Oh no, my pool, I crushed.
It was great.
I crushed. I went 2-0 and then dropped because I was hungry and needed to get food. Because it was late, because it took me a really long time to get out of deck building because of helping somebody else. And then I played the second round of Unknown, I played against an opponent who just happened to finish at the same time. He's like, oh, can I play you, Kathleen? And I was like, absolutely. He was 18. He was very young. And it was like 3 rounds. His deck was full of bombs. My deck was full of bombs. It was very tight, sweaty, good Magic. So it was a very fun event to play. And then Sunday, I really enjoyed going to the diversity and mental health panels. And that was fun. Just playing games whenever I could and being at the booth and saying hi to people. I always felt bad leaving the booth though, because like I went to go get water and like a line would build up. So I have to like, I'm back, I'm sorry. Right.
You got to harden your heart with some of that stuff too, right? Because like if you have things you have to do, it's like, I'm sorry guys, I wasn't supposed to be here. I'll see you in a bit. You know,
I did say because I got stopped a couple of times when I was like trying to go places, like when I was outside or like on the hotel and stuff like in my hotel, and I was like, I'm really sorry. I'm on my way somewhere, and I am at the convention, and I have a booth, and please see me there. But I cannot stop now.
There was a line building up on Saturday morning before we had to leave for the Chaos event. And James was like, oh no, we got to cut the line off. So I went to the guy at the back of the line and I was like, all right, you got to help me out here. This is your job to be the bad guy now. You got to tell anyone that lines up behind you that we can't do it right now. I'm sorry. And he did, because several people tried to line up and he was very polite and told people, sorry, this is the end of the line. This is the cutoff. They got to go do this thing. They have a signing on, they have a signing on Sunday. And at the end I was like, awesome. Thank you for being the bad guy. Have a secret lair. So it all worked out.
Shout out to that guy.
Yeah. Everybody we met was so kind and nice and friendly. It was so nice to meet people. And
everybody in Minnesota we met, like not just the convention too.
It's Minnesota nice, which I thought was a euphemism for being fake nice, but it might actually be a euphemism for being real nice.
Yeah, I thought that was Iowa nice, which is not.
Yeah.
But no, apparently Minnesota nice is just being nice.
Oh, it's funny. Anyhow, it was very good. I really enjoyed meeting people and talking to them, and it was very humbling and gratifying to know that people wanted to share their time with us, right?
Yeah.
So.
And the food was nice. I never had a Juicy Lucy, but the food was nice.
I did.
How was it?
It was a burger.
Did it blow up at you?
No, because the guy told us. We went to Hell's Kitchen and ordered the Juicy Lucifer. And they all have
Lucifer.
They all have. They should have called it that. That would have been really good. And he's like, "Don't bite into it. Like, do not pick it up right now." Like, okay. He's like, "It will go off." Okay.
It will detonate.
And so he was like, "You want to let it sit for a minute so it cools a bit. That'll be fine. Don't worry, it'll stay molten." I'm like, "I'm not worried about whatever." And he's like, "But when you do, don't squeeze it." I'm like, "Okay, how am I supposed to? I guess just kind of gently grip it in my hands." And so I cheated. What I did is I took my fork and aiming out towards other tables, I poked it to kind of let the pressure out. And so then when I picked it up and I ate it, I did squeeze it accidentally once and did get but it was after it was taking it away from my mouth, and I saw just a big vroom of like cheese come flowing out. And I was like, right. So I'm glad I didn't do that near my mouth. So that was excellent.
On the Thursday, Greg Collins, who's like the senior producer for the Pro Tour, was telling us about he had one and did not get that preamble warning. And exploded hot cheese all over himself and someone else at his table. And he was describing this. And I was like, so a Juicy Lucy is just a pressure vessel made of beef.
Yeah, it's a burger.
He's like, yeah. I'm like, sounds dangerous. He's like, just like hit it with a toothpick or something before you eat it to release pressure.
Yeah, I don't understand why they don't do that. Like, come to the table and be like, you can set it off anytime you want. And I was like, I would like to do it now. Like,
when would you like to detonate your burger, sir?
They need to be served with a little spear, right? Yeah.
And people talk about how good it is, but it's like, it is a burger. It's a really good burger, and they make them everywhere. So it could be a good burger or a shitty burger, but it's like, it's a burger.
Yeah. So I will say, on Thursday night, we had done the dress rehearsals for game nights and stuff, and we're sitting in sort of the like me and a bunch of the other game nights crew were like watching Graham's group go out and do their rehearsals, and they're talking about where to eat, and they're like, oh, there's a sushi restaurant just around here. We could
Train Sushi.
Yeah, Sushi Train, and we could go to Sushi Train. And I sort of look at them and I'm like, you want to eat raw fish in Minnesota the night before a big show where it's real important everybody's at their best? They went, right, let's get burritos. But then we went to Sushi Train because I had a very tight turnover, and it's the kind of restaurant where you don't have to wait for anything to be cooked. You can just start eating immediately as soon as you're seated. And I should not have doubted the Minnesota fish. It was really good, honestly. It was it was the same level of quality as of trained sushi restaurants I've eaten at in Washington State. It wasn't the best sushi, but it was fine.
It was there.
It was there, and it was fast.
Yeah. So, yeah, MagicCon. It was a great time.
It was great.
Thanks to everyone at Wizards who was involved in getting us out there. Toby and Anthony and Greg and all them folks. And also thanks to, for us at least, thanks to everybody from the Command Zone for the Game Nights Live, because it was a blast. Most importantly, everybody who came by and said hi, because it was a really, it was a heartwarming weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want to thank the people from Reed Pop as well who helped with that. You guys did a great job with this con. And again, the people from Fern who helped us get our stuff home.
She was very friendly and patient.
She was.
I'll thank all the hardworking admin staff, all the judges.
Oh my God, the judges!
Judges.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
The true heroes of this weekend for probably most of the con attendees, the judges and stuff like that, making sure things ran smoothly.
Yeah. So yeah, there's MagicCon. We don't know if we're going to be able to see anybody at MagicCon Barcelona, but hopefully at least Vegas. So that'll be some time from now. But yeah. The nicknames website is something's happening to it. It is switching to voting mode, I believe, is what I was told to say. I can't find the message from James. Yes, it's switching to voting mode.
Thank you, Paul.
So
vote mom.
So go vote for your favorite mom nicknames for the nicknames episode. So because that's coming up, and that's going to do it, I think, for this episode. So. Until next time, a reminder, of course, that Tap Tapping Seed is brought to you by Card Kingdom. Check out cardkingdom.com/LRR. And of course, the show and everything we do is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Until next time, I've been Graham with Kathleen.
Hi.
And Nelson.
Thanks for listening.
And Beej.
I believe this will be the last time I'll be on.
And Paul has been here on tech. And Heather gets these online. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.